What choice would you make if courage meant risking everything? The harsh clang of the school bell sliced through the humid afternoon air, echoing down the cracked hallways of Jefferson High like a call to battle. Lena's breath hitched as she pushed through the crowd of underclassmen, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm beneath the fabric of her bright jacket, a small flag of defiance amid a sea of muted colors. The sun strained through the tall windows, casting long beams that danced through dust motes, illuminating the specks of sweat on tired faces. At the far end of the corridor, a sharp voice tore through the laughter and shouts, a cruel serenade. "Hey, newbie," Jordan sneered, a privileged smirk playing on his lips as his posse closed in a pack of sharp-edged shadows in designer sneakers, their easy dominion carved by fear and scorn. Lena's eyes locked on the trembling frame of a younger student caught beneath the glare, his shoulders hunched, voice stifled as Jordan's words rained down like stones. The instability of the moment rippled a fragile standoff between cruelty and courage. Without thinking, Lena stepped forward, voice firm but low, "Leave him alone." The hallway fell into a brittle silence as Jordan turned, amusement flickering as his gaze landed on Lena, tall, athletic, unyielding. "What's this?" "The big girl wants to play hero." Before she could answer, a cruel shove sent her sprawling against the lockers, metal reverberating with a harsh clang. Laughter erupted sharp, cold as winter wind. "Watch your step," Jordan snarled, his voice dripping with menace. "This isn't your playground." Elena staggered to her feet, cheeks burning with humiliation, a swirl of reactions, shame, fury, disbelief gripping her like iron chains. Around her, the crowd's eyes gleamed with a mixture of curiosity, judgment, and indifference. Her phone slipped from her grasp, skittering across the floor, a broken echo in the hollow space. She froze, dread pooling in her stomach as the screen shattered against the concrete. The fragmented glass mirrored the whirl of her thoughts, shattered, distorted reflections where confidence once flickered. Her friends stood on the periphery, silent witnesses, some avoiding her gaze, others frozen by fear. Lena's breath came fast, lungs burning with the injustice swelling inside. A lone stray dog appeared, weaving through the throng towards her, its fur matted but eyes steady, a flicker of unwavering loyalty in the bleakness. As it brushed against her trembling legs, a shiver of unexpected warmth stirred in her chest, tiny but persistent. Jordan's sneer softened into a warning as he stepped back, eyes cold as steel. "Don't forget who runs this place." The bell rang again, pulling the crowd into motion, and Lena stood the real one but not defeated. The fractured phone screen caught a shard of sunlight, sparkling briefly before the halls swallowed the light once more. Her eyes lifted, fierce yet uncertain, a silent vow mounting beneath the surface, waiting to rise. The school bell had long since silenced, but the weight of that afternoon clung tightly to Lena's shoulders like the heavy twilight settling over the city. She moved through the near-empty hallways with cautious steps, each footfall a muted echo against the cold linoleum tiles. The warm hues from the last day's golden hour slipped away, surrendering the corridors to stark, unforgiving shadows. Her braided hair caught faint glimmers from the flickering overhead lights, the beads clinking softly, a fragile counterpoint to the silence pressing against her. Her heart thudded against ribs that felt too tight, each beat a stubborn reminder of the humiliation that had unfolded moments before, witnessed by the entire school. The laughter had been cruel, sharp as broken glass, filling her ears long after the crowd had dispersed. Jordan's sneering face, the sharp intonation of his words, replayed in her mind like a relentless storm. A broken phone screen glinted from her backpack's open zipper, catching the dying light like a trapped star. To anyone else, it was a simple shard of shattered glass. To Lena, it was a mimicry of her own fractured confidence, reflecting a girl uncertain if she still belonged anywhere. Passing by a worn, forgotten trophy case, her reflection caught in the museum glass stared back with unfamiliar bleakness. The faded plaques and dusty trophies proclaimed achievements celebrated by others but left her invisible, unacknowledged. The realization bit sharper than any cruel word. In this place, validation was a currency she didn't seem to possess. She paused, eyes lingering on a lone trophy, dull and forgotten, covered in a fine layer of dust. Her fingers curled unconsciously, craving something to grasp amid the swirling chaos in her mind. The hall's quiet was broken by the distant bark of a dog, rough and insistent, carrying through the empty spaces like a call from somewhere deeper within the city, raw, unpolished, and fiercely alive. The stray's voice stirred something inside Hera, a flicker of kinship with the unseen, the overlooked, the untamed. Wrapped in that burgeoning silence, Lena's chest tightened with a cocktail of defiance and vulnerability. The sting of rejection was present, but beneath it, a spark flickered, unseen but undeniable. A whispered question dared to rise above the noise. Could courage rise from this quiet ruin? Steps slowed. Breathing steadying, she exhaled a breath that had long been held captive. Though the day's shadows still threatened, Lena's gaze lifted, eyes hardening with a hesitant conviction. The battle was far from over. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag, the broken phone a jagged echo of pain but not the summation of her story. The stray dog's distant call folded into the gathering darkness, a primal promise that strength often hid in the unseen. And beneath the flickering hallway lights, as dusk gave way to night, Lena took the first silent step toward a fight that would soon gather others. Her ancestors' courage whispered on the wind, coaxing from within a resilience unanticipated but fierce. The evening air outside was thick with the distant hum of city life, the low murmur of cars weaving through the urban landscape and the occasional wail of a siren that seemed to echo the turmoil inside Lena's chest. She walked home alone along the cracked pavement, her footsteps a steady yet subdued rhythm against the glowing embers of street lamps casting long shadows like silent witnesses. Her braids caught the faint amber light, a subtle halo around her head as she moved through the gathering darkness. The weight of the afternoon's humiliation pressed down on her shoulders, heavier than her worn jacket against the chill of the night. Her mind replayed the sharp sting of Jordan's mocking laughter and the jeering voices that had ringed around her, a symphony of scorn that had stripped her of confidence, leaving raw wounds where hope once thrived. The broken phone's shattered screen was a fractured reflection not only of victory lost but of her own fading self-image. Suddenly, from the shadows near a cracked stone wall, a pair of glowing eyes met hers. A stray dog, its fur matted but eyes fiery with quiet resilience, emerged cautiously and took tentative steps toward her. Its presence was at once a balm and a challenge, a kindred spirit in the frailty of survival and the unspoken promise of strength yet to be claimed. Lena hesitated, then knelt slowly as the dog edged closer, her hand extending with trembling fingers. Touching its rough coat, she felt a spark of flicker of warmth in the cold night, an unanticipated companion whose loyalty was raw and unyielding. The dog pressed its head into her palm, a silent reassurance that she was not as alone as she felt. The neon lights from a flickering sign bathed the street in harsh reds and blues, colors that bled into the darkness like the blood and bruises of an unspoken fight. Lena's gaze drifted toward the broken trophies displayed in a nearby school window, silent symbols of accolades she yearned for, validation she had been denied. Though tarnished and neglected, they stood resilient, reminders of a legacy she had yet to claim. A gust of wind stirred the stray dog's fur, and leaves scattered chaotically at their feet, a swirling dance of nature's unpredictability mirroring the storm within her heart. The city stretched before her, ancient and enduring, a tapestry woven with threads of struggle and dreams, shadows and possibilities. Rising slowly, Lena felt the weight of the day shift subtly, the dull ache of defeat sharpened into the edge of determination. Her eyes, once clouded by shame, now held a nascent fire, a resolve forged in the crucible of pain and promise. The stray dog nudged her hand again, a quiet insistence that survival demanded courage, that beneath the dust and rejection lay a reservoir of strength waiting to be unearthed. As the distant roar of the city pulsed like a heartbeat, Lena squared her shoulders and took her first bold step forward, the streetlights flickering in a staccato rhythm as if heralding the transformation within. The night, once suffocating, now seemed to breathe with possibility, shadows retreating just enough to reveal the faint outline of a path that led beyond fear and humiliation toward the dawn of her untapped potential. The early morning sky was an uneven canvas of bruised purples and hesitant pinks, streaked unevenly above Jefferson High's stately brick facade. Inside the cramped cafeteria, a murmur latent with tension rippled beneath the clatter of trays and hushed conversations. Lena moved carefully through the sea of faces, her tall frame curving with a cautious grace that belied the storm gathering in her chest. Her pulse hammered a rhythm of hope and doubt as she met the glances of faces both familiar and alien. Some turned away, others furrowed with skepticism, all bearing the unspoken question: who would stand with her? The air was dense, weighed with the residual sting of shame from the public clash with Jordan. Yet beneath the fluorescent flicker, in shadows between tables, flickers of unspoken courage began to spark, tiny embers waiting to be fanned. Leaning against the chipped wall, Malik, a quiet student with a sharp wit and kindly eyes, caught Lena's tentative smile. "You're crazy for standing up," he murmured, voice low but steady. "But there's fire in crazy." Lena nodded, warmth blooming despite the chill of uncertainty. "I can't let it go," she replied. "Not this time. Not when they think we're weak." Their whispered alliance swelled subtly, a covert current threading through the dimly lit hall. Slowly, other silhouettes emerged from isolation, faces lifted, brows knitted with new resolve. Whispered agreements passed like secret currency. No longer alone, Lena's small group began to take shape. In the courtyard, a stray dog trotted beside her as she exited, its matted fur and wary eyes mirroring the unpolished fight awakening within her. The ragged creature paused, looking back with a steady, unwavering Ghazean unspoken challenge to embrace the strength beneath her doubts. The cold wind tugged at the edges of her jacket as she squared her shoulders and faced the sprawling cityscape, bathed faintly in dawn's golden hues. The broken phone, hidden deep in her bag, lay silent yet potent, a reminder of the shattered self-image slowly piecing itself together. Inside the echoing halls, Jordan's shadow lingered, an omnipresent challenge daring her to retreat. But Lena's voice, quiet but fierce, pushed against the tide of fear. "We will not back down." A sudden gust scattered fallen leaves across the pavement like whispered warnings, a tangible breath of the battles ahead. As the stray dog lingered at her side, she hesitated, then stepped forward, uncertain but unyielding. What price courage when every step feels like reaching into the dark? The question hung heavy in the air as the school stirred awake, the fragile promise of change both tantalizing and perilous. And in the quiet pulse of that moment, Lena's journey toward defiance truly began. The atmosphere in the school halls had thickened, a palpable tension weaving through the spaces between lockers and classrooms like a warning. Lena moved with tentative purpose, her braided hair bobbing slightly with each step, her breath shallow but steady. The small group she had rallied around her had grown not in numbers, but in cautious conviction, each face marked by a flicker of hope wrestling with fear. They clustered in whispers beneath the harsh fluorescence of the cafeteria, voices low and urgent. Malik, her most trusted ally, leaned close, his expression darkening. "We can't trust everyone," he warned, eyes scanning the diners. "People who say they hope for change might just fear losing their place." Lena swallowed, the weight of his words sinking deep. The walls seemed to close in, the broken phone in her pocket an aching reminder of vulnerability and past humiliation. The stray dog that had trailed her steps home flickered in memory, a beacon of loyal strength amid shadows. Outside, rain began soft at first, then gathering a relentless pulse. Drops hammered the pavement with urgent insistence, mirroring the turmoil besieging her. Inside, the escalation sparked like a wildfire. Rumors surfaced of betrayals, whispers of those posing as allies only to sabotage their efforts. The harsh reality sliced through their fragile unity. The school's trophy case loomed nearby, glittering hollow victories that mocked their struggle for true recognition. Jordan's stare burned into Lena's back wherever she went, a cold promise of battles yet fought. One afternoon, as Lena stood in the rain beneath the skeletal branches of the park's solitary oak, a phone buzzed violent lion anonymous tip providing hints about Jordan's family, secrets that could unravel the power structure exploiting the school. Her fingers trembled, heart pounding with dread and anticipation. "This changes everything," she whispered to the cold wind, feeling both the immense risk and the slender thread of hope intertwining. But with the rise of courage came the shadow of consequence. Her closest friend, a beacon of unwavering support, faced threats of expulsion. False accusations spun like venom, testing the limits of Lena's resolve and the fragile trust they'd built. In the silent spaces between confrontations, Lena's gaze lingered on the broken phone screen, in her palm a fractured symbol of shattered self but also of resistance. She pictured the stray dog waiting loyally beyond the school gates, its steady presence a quiet affirmation of hidden strength. Each evening, as darkness swallowed the city, Lena wrestled with the shifting tides of betrayal and alliance. The path ahead was perilous, the stakes mounting with every choice. Yet as the rain softened to a steady patter, and the oak tree stood firm against the storm, Lena took a steadying breath. "We keep fighting," she vowed, "not for trophies on shelves but for the truth to light our way." The wind stilled. A subtle shift hung in the air, the fragile dawn before the storm's next surge. And as the school bells rang once more, echoing through hallways fraught with unspoken challenges, Lena stepped forward, courage and doubt entwined but unbroken. The evening sky over Jefferson High was painted in bruised shades of purple and orange, the fading sunlight casting long, distorted shadows across the cracked pavement. Lena stood just beyond the school gates, her eyes fixed on the vacant playground where days ago she had dared to stand tall against the tide of bullies. Now, a hush hung heavy in the air, the palpable weight of looming revelation settling deep within her chest. Her phone lay broken inside her backpack, its shattered screen a stark metaphor, fragmented, fragile, yet a silent witness to the truths she refused to hide. Near her feet, the stray dog that had first accompanied her journey a few days prior rested quietly, its loyal gaze mirroring the flicker of determination sparking within her. Behind that determination lurked a growing tempest. Rumors had begun to swirl like a gathering storm within the school walls, whispers of alliances, betrayals, and secrets that twisted like tangled vines. Lena's small circle of trust faltered as faces once warm with support turned cold, veiled alliances locked in shadows yet to be unraveled. It was Malik who finally dared to voice the unspoken truth. "It's deeper than we thought," he said, voice low and laden with caution. "Jordan, it's not just about power. His family, there's history there. Dark history. And they're not just bullies, they're protecting something." The revelation slashed through Lena's resolve, each word peeling back layers of certainty to reveal a labyrinth of deceit. The secluded trophy case near the school entrance, once a simple display of pride, suddenly seemed a shrine to unyielding privilege, a celebration of validation won through exclusion and control. Lena's gaze lifted to the solitary oak tree towering at the far end of the schoolyard. Its gnarled branches swayed gently in the autumn breeze, a silent sentinel witnessing the unfolding drama. The tree, a symbol of strength and quiet endurance, seemed to beckon her, offering a stark contrast to the fracturing alliances and mounting shadows. One evening, as twilight bled into night, Lena received an anonymous note slipped beneath her locker. The paper was thick, the ink smeared as if hastily written, and the message searing: "Trust is a weapon. Wield it wisely." Her heart seized with a mixture of fear and awakening. The cost of courage was rising, the stakes pulling taut with every breath. Yet amid the unraveling web of betrayal and hidden truths, Lena found an unspoken clarity blooming beneath the chaos. Her fight transcended the personal, it was becoming a stand against systemic chains forged in ignorance and greed. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was fierce and steady, a declaration born of fire and resilience. I won't let fear dictate the future. We rise because we must. Because justice isn't given, it's claimed. The stray dog barked once, a sharp affirmation in the cool night air, as if echoing her unspoken vow. And as shadows lengthened across the ancient city, Lena understood that the journey had irrevocably changed the path darkened by revelation, yes, but illuminated by an unyielding spark within. Her silhouette merged with the towering branches of the oak, poised between the fading light and the darkened unknown, ready to push forward into the tempest, unbroken and unbowed. The rain fell with a merciless rhythm against the cracked windowpanes of Lena's room, each drop reverberating like a fragile heartbeat in the suffocating silence. The room, dimly lit by the pale glow of a street lamp filtered through half-closed blinds, seemed smaller, closing in around her like the weight of grief that settled heavy upon her chest. She curled into herself on the worn mattress, the tangled folds of a threadbare blanket hardly shielding her from the cold that gnawed deep inside. Her mind replayed the cruel headlines that had swept through the school, whispers twisted into shouts. Her closest friend, unjustly expelled. Evidence manipulated. Truth buried under layers of deceit. The betrayal cut sharper than any insult, the loss a cavernous void where hope once stirred. The broken phone lay forgotten on the bedside table, its shattered glass catching the intermittent flash of lightning shards reflecting fractured fragments of a self that now felt hollowed and lost. The symbolic fracture was no longer just about technology or pride. It was the echo of a fractured identity forced apart by forces beyond her control. Outside, the storm unleashed its fury, the relentless thunder booming like the rage and sorrow crashing within her spirit. The stray dog, the loyal companion who had once followed her timid steps through the city streets, was nowhere to be found, a tangible absence that echoed the loneliness enfolding her. A faint, tremulous whisper escaped her lips. Why? A question swallowed by the storm itself, unanswered and haunting. Her gaze lowered to the floor, where crumpled papers bore witness to the countless plans and pleas for justice she'd penned, now scattered like fallen leaves in a relentless wind. The school trophy, displayed in a distant case down the hall, gleamed mockingly, a symbol of validation denied, of battles lost in silent corridors. The room seemed to pulse with an oppressive stillness, each breath a struggle, each heartbeat a reminder of the unraveling that crept like shadows beneath her skin. The isolation was absolute. The world beyond her window faded into a blur of wet darkness and muted thunder. Memories flickered, earlier moments of camaraderie, laughter shared under sunlit skies, the burgeoning flame of purpose burning bright. Now those images felt distant, ghostly, as though belonging to someone else. Her eyes closed, eyelashes wet with unshed tears, the weight of despair folding her into an unbearable ache. And as the rain hammered on relentlessly, the fragile threads of trust, hope, and identity frayed beyond recognition. In this abyss of silence and shadow, Lena lay prostrate, the storm outside nothing compared to the one she bore within. The world, once vibrant and full of promise, had grown cold, distant, and unforgiving. The candle sputtered, guttered, and died, leaving only the darkness, a profound blackness where light and certainty seemed forever lost. The chill of the evening seeped through the uninsulated walls of Lena's room, curling around her like a spectral embrace. The single overhead bulb flickered intermittently, casting frantic shadows that stretched and recoiled as though mirroring the chaos that tore through her heart. Outside, the cityscape of worn brick and flickering streetlights dissolved into a dark, unfeeling void, amplifying the oppressive solitude. Lena sat rigidly on the edge of her unmade bed, knees drawn together but unmoving, her fingers intertwined so tightly they blanched. Her gaze was fixed on the shattered screen of her phone, lying on the cracked wooden floor, a star-like constellation of glistening glass fragments scattered beneath the somber glow. It reflected a fractured image, a face distorted by anguish, defeat, but most of all, loss. The silence was dense, broken only by the distant hum of traffic, muffled footsteps on damp streets, and the faint howling of a lone dog somewhere underneath the skeletal branches of a winter tree outside her window, a haunting lullaby of loyalty and resilience. Her breath emerged in shallow, uneven gasps, meshing with the cold air, a whispered testament to the fraying edges of her will. The echoes of betrayal, the weight of manipulated truths that had expelled her closest friend, burdened her psyche with invisible shackles, tightening with every heartbeat. Her gaze shifted to the trophy case just beyond the window, a reflective sheen dull against frost-smeared glass where trophies once gleamed brilliantly, symbols of achievement and societal validation. Now, they appeared hollow, distant relics in stark contrast to the void inside her. Lena's eyes caught the profile of the stray dog that had lingered near her path days earlier, now a shadow in the streetlight's dim circle. The animal's silent companionship offered a fragile balm to her unraveling soul, an unspoken reminder of the strength hidden beneath the surface of isolation. She whispered to the gathering shadows, her voice fragile and raw, "How do you fight when the world turns away?" Each word faltered against the oppressive void that enveloped her, swallowed within the cavernous stillness of her room. The flickering bulb finally sputtered out, plunging everything into abyssal darkness. In the pitch-black silence, Lena's breathing grew softer, slower, and nearing surrender to the cold embrace of despair. The shattered glass of her phone caught a stray fragment of moonlight filtering through the blinds, a solitary flicker in the endless night symbolic of a hope teetering on the edge of oblivion. And there, in that profound stillness, with every sound swallowed away, a profound emptiness echoed. A pit where dreams had dissolved and the battle for light seemed lost, silent and unforgiving. The dim light of dawn sifted through the cracked blinds of Lena's cramped bedroom, painting faint stripes across the cluttered floor, a mosaic of lingering shadows and fragile light. She sat alone, knees folded to her chest, the weight of a sleepless night etched into the hollow beneath her eyes. The room was silent save the whisper of the soft morning breeze fluttering a ragged curtain, and the faint, steady breathing of the stray dog curled at her side, a silent sentinel in her endless night. Her gaze rested on the broken mirror propped against the wall, its fragmented reflections distorting the battered face staring back. Each shard caught a sliver of light like fading hope, fractured but unyielding. The shards conjured images of past battles, of pain endured and losses carved deep, yet beneath the surface, a quiet fire pulsed tender, elusive, but unmistakably alive. Near her, her shattered phone lay silent on the floor, screen spider-webbed and dark. Yet in the quiet hum of morning, a vibration startled her, a message, anonymous and brief, blinked on the cracked screen, "Find the forgotten." The words hung in the air, cryptic yet charged with promise, like a whispered invitation from the depths of her own soul. Lena's breath caught as a memory stirred the stray dog's steadfast eyes, the sturdy oak beneath which she had once sought solace, and the faded school trophy whose forgotten gleam now seemed a symbol not of defeat but of unresolved battles still to fight. A soft tremor coursed through her fingers as she reached out, tracing the first hesitant strokes on the canvas laid bare beside her bed. Red and black collided, vivid and raw, a testament to both scars and strength. The act was small, almost imperceptible, but within it lit a fragile determination, a promise to reclaim not just her story but the power to shape it. Her voice was barely more than a breath as she murmured, "Not yet. Not done." Outside, the city whispered awake. The first birdsong shimmered through the windowpane like a lullaby of renewal. The stray dog stirred, rising to nuzzle her hand, a steadfast companion on the cusp of change. In that shimmering twilight, Lena rose slowly, the fragile glow of hope flickering steady amid the shadows of doubt. The path ahead remained steep and fraught, but the flame within her heart was no longer extinguished. The room breathed with possibility, a crucible for courage forged in love, loss, and quiet resolve. And as the sun's pale fingers stretched across the world beyond her window, Lena took a trembling step into the dawn, uncertain, fragile, but resolute. The fight for justice and self would rise anew, carried by the fiercest power of all, courage. The first light of dawn filtered through the high windows of Lena's room, casting long, gentle shadows that crept softly across her worn wooden floor. Dust motes floated in the golden haze as if suspended in time, the quiet too fragile to disturb. Outside, the city stirred awake beneath an amber sky, but inside, the air was still-laden with a fragile calm born from nights of restless dreams and bitter truths. Lena sat on the edge of her bed, hands clasped loosely in her lap, the weight of recent betrayals threading through her thoughts with both heaviness and a faint spark of resolve. Her broken phone lay on the desk, shards of fractured glass dull in the rising light, a silent witness to the shattering of old illusions and the frailty of self-image that once defined her. In the corner, the stray dog, once a shadow at her feet, now rested curled near her shoes, its breathing steady and comforting. The creature's presence was a living metaphor, quiet strength through adversity, loyalty unspoken but unwavering. Lena's gaze drifted to the window overlooking the school grounds, where the ancient oak tree stood solitary but undiminished. Its gnarled branches reached out like defiant arms toward the awakening sky, an emblem of endurance and deep roots despite storms and silence. Her eyes softened, the harrowing nights of despair now edged with the first delicate threads of hope. The journey ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges both visible and hidden, but the seed of change had been planted, fragile yet alive. A soft breeze stirred the curtains, carrying the distant laughter and chatter of students returning, life pulsing anew in corridors once filled with shadows and silence. The warmth of morning sunlight wrapped around her, an unspoken promise that even in darkness, light finds a way. Lena exhaled slowly, a breath caught between past fears and future possibilities. "This is the beginning," she whispered, voice low but steady, "not the end." Her fingers brushed the small, worn school trophy on her dresser, a symbol once of superficial validation, now a reminder that true acknowledgement starts from within, nurtured by courage and conviction. The stray dog lifted its head, eyes gleaming with quiet encouragement as if sensing the subtle shift within her. And as the city beneath the oak awakened fully into day, Lena rose, poised between shadow and light, ready to step once more into the fray, not as a girl broken by scorn, but as a young woman discovering the profound power enfolded in her own resilience. The hallway outside the auditorium thrummed with quiet anticipation, a tension woven from the threads of whispered rumors and held breaths. Lena stood just beyond the heavy oak doors, the cool brass handle pressed beneath trembling fingers, her heart a steady drumbeat against the quiet roar in her ears. Behind the door, the entire school gathered, eyes and whispers poised like a fragile tempest waiting to be unleashed. The air pressed close. It was thick with the mingled scents of polished floors and fading chalk, but beneath it all lay a raw current of expectancy. Lena's breaths came shallow, but her resolve steadied when the stray dog, faithful silhouette at her side, nudged gently against her ankle. The quiet companionship was an ember against the cold, a silent testament to journeys begun and courage reborn. Stepping into the bright cavernous space, Lena's eyes met a sea of faces, some hostile, others uncertain, many watching with bated breath. Jordan's smirk cut through the crowd like a blade, but Lena's glare did not waver. It was a flame burning through years of shadows. Her voice, when she spoke, sliced through the cluttered murmurs with crystalline clarity. "We stand here not because this is easy. We stand because truth refuses to be silenced. I have come with evidence, irrefutable proof that reveals the lies, the manipulation, the betrayals masked by fear and power." The auditorium dimmed as the principal clicked the projector, revealing photos, voice notes, and messages, a tapestry of truths that exposed the bullying, the collusion to silence dissent, and the fractures beneath Jordan's carefully constructed facade. Murmurs rippled like waves, faces shifted as the collective weight of denial began cracking. Lena's gaze swept the room, searching for the glimmers of support amid the storm, and found sparks. Peers who had once looked away now locked eyes with her, their fear mingled with burgeoning hope. Jordan's composure faltered, his clenched jaw and flicker of desperation betrayed the unraveling power. A cold silence fell, broken only by the steady cadence of Lena's voice recounting each act of courage, each betrayal, weaving a story that demanded reckoning. The stray dog, now at Lena's feet, growled softly in fierce solidarity, a living symbol of loyalty in the face of adversity. The fractured shards of her old phone, still slipping in and out of her pocket, seemed to pulse with renewed strength, a mosaic no longer broken but reforged. As she stepped back, Lena felt the gravity of the moment, the fragile balance between victory and backlash. Her breath even, chest lifted, she whispered to the silent space between words, "This is the beginning of change." The auditorium seemed to hold its breath as the lights brightened slowly, bathing the room in warm hues, broken reflecting unity, the lost found in voice, the shadows pierced by the blaze of truth. In that moment, Lena experienced a spark of profound awe swelling within, a recognition that the power she had feared was hers all along. Not in the absence of struggle, but found within it, a courage that could not be extinguished. The applause was tentative at first, then cascaded like sunlight breaking through storm clouds, a herald of a movement rising, a tide unstoppable. Behind her, the stray dog's tail wagged slowly, steady and proud. And as the crowd shifted, some faces transformed by hope, others hardened by fear, Lena stood poised in the glowing light, not as a girl broken but as a beacon reformed. The journey through shadows had only just begun. The gymnasium, once a place of echoes and murmurs, now pulsed with an electric energy born of truth unveiled and courage unleashed. Golden rays from the setting sun spilled through tall windows, flickering across banners and the gleaming school trophy, casting a warm glow over faces turned toward Lena, no longer eyes of doubt, but wells of newfound respect and collective resolve. Lena stood tall on the polished floor, her stance unflinching, athletic frame illuminated by the fading light and the resolute fire burning deep within her. The broken phone, her shattered self-image, had long since been replaced by a clear vision, a mosaic forged not in silence but in the clashing light of defiance and justice. The stray dog, now a familiar shadow at her side, shifted closer, its presence a silent vow of loyalty and unyielding strength. Eyes that once veiled derision now shimmered with unspoken support. Jordan's smug facade cracked as the undeniable truth snapped through the air, evidence collated, voices stilled by justice's clarion call. Lena's voice rang out, steady yet impassioned, "We have endured shadows, whispers, and fear. But today, we reclaim our story. Courage is not the absence of hate, but the victory over it. This is our moment, our right to be seen, heard, and respected." The gym exploded into a fervent tide of applause, the heartbeat of a community awakened. It was not merely a celebration, but a declaration, a fragile but fierce resurgence poised to rewrite the narratives that had long confined them. The broken fragments of old wounds absorbed the warm light, reflecting 1,000 rainbows, symbolic of a spirit shattered yet unbroken, resilient as the gnarled oak beyond the school grounds under which new roots would take hold. Lena's gaze swept the room, friends standing taller, allies revealed in quiet nods, and even the reluctant embers flickering in those newly awakened. Silence returned, profound and full, a pause curving the cusp of a dawn shaped anew. She exhaled slowly, resolute. This is only the beginning. Together, we will change everything. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows mingling with the soft hues of twilight, Lena stood calm, transformed, the embodiment of hope's unyielding power, on the verge of a revolution that would not be denied. The gym doors opened wide, embracing the night and the promise of a morrow illuminated by justice. As the sun dipped low over the city, casting a warm amber glow that softened the edges of a fractured world, Lena sat quietly on the worn steps of the schoolyard. The chaos of recent weeks had ebbed into a gentle quietude, a profound silence that seemed to cradle her in its embrace. Her gaze wandered over the familiar rooftops and distant, golden-hued buildings, each a silent testament to the resilience that had carried her through storms of injustice. Her hands rested loosely in her lap, the calloused palms a silent reminder of the battles fought and the strength unspoken. The stray dog, now tethered softly to her side, pressed its head into her thigh, a gentle, unwavering presence, mirroring her own journey from vulnerability to unshakable resolve. Light flickered in her eyes, a subdued but steadfast ember igniting beneath the surface. The reflection in her mind shifted from past humiliation, the public attempt that had nearly broken her, to a new dawn of understanding. Every moment of doubt, every whispered threat, had been part of a longer odyssey, a rising tide from darkness into light. The air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and fresh earth, delicate fragrances that hinted at renewal amidst scars. The horizon kissed by the setting sun promised change, a quiet revolution stirring beneath the calm surface of her life. She no longer needed societal validation to feel worthy. Her worth had blossomed from within, nurtured by courage and conviction. With slow, deliberate breaths, Lena allowed herself to exhale, each in and out a prayer of gratitude and acceptance. The broken shards of her shattered self-image, once jagged and unyielding, now shimmered under the lingering light, metaphors of resilience and rebirth, edges smoothed by months of inner work. Her gaze lingered on the silhouette of the ancient oak tree standing resilient against the wind, its gnarled branches outstretched as if offering silent encouragement. Beneath its shelter, she sensed the echoes of ancestral strength, a quiet inheritance of perseverance, dignity, and voice. A small, contented smile curved her lips as she reached out gently to pat the dog's head. The creature looked up at her, eyes bright and loyal, unburdened by past fears or doubt. The scene stretched into a tranquil tableau, a silent affirmation that beyond the chaos and pain, peace could be found in acceptance and growth. Each moment of calm was a testament to her metamorphosis, a quiet acknowledgement that inner strength, once buried beneath layers of shame, had now blossomed into a guiding light. And as the city shimmered in the early dusk, Lena closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the gentle pulse of her renewed spirit. The journey had only begun, her heart open, her mind clear, and her purpose profound. In the stillness, beneath the vast, forgiving sky, Lena's silhouette blended into the warm hues of twilight, a lingering image of hope and silent strength, poised to move forward into a future shaped by unbreakable belief in herself. The horizon blushed with the warm glow of sunset, casting a gentle amber light over the schoolyard where Lena stood, her silhouette softened by the fading day. The once tumultuous journey had ebbed into a tranquil tide of reflection, and in the stillness, she felt an unspoken weight lift, an easing of the burdens carried so long. Her eyes, now luminous with a quiet resolve, traced the familiar outline of the old oak that stood steadfast at the campus edge, a silent witness to her quiet rebellion and eventual rebirth. The stray dog rested at her feet, its fur shining softly in the mellow light, a living testament to the strength she had unearthed within herself. She reached down, gently scratching behind its ears, the gesture almost involuntary, a small act of gratitude for the loyalty of a creature who had been there through her darkest nights. Memories drifted like whisper slaughter with newfound friends, the trembling weight of holding truths in her hands, the shattering of misconceptions, and the rising tide of justice that had seemed so impossible only weeks before. Now, all that remained was the gentle hum of acceptance, a soft echo of her internal transformation. Her gaze lifted to the open sky where the first stars blinked into existence, twinkling like distant beacons of hope. She took a deep breath, the cool air filling her lungs, grounding her in the understanding that her growth was not just a fleeting victory but a seed planted deep within, destined to blossom into a future built on courage and compassion. Silence lingered, expansive yet intimate, wrapping her in its embracing affirmation that peace was not the absence of struggle but the culmination of resilience. The colors of sunset faded gradually into twilight, the radiant hues bleeding into a sky filled with promise. As she turned to walk away, her steps steady over the worn pavement, Lena's heart radiated a quiet glow, a gentle light that illuminated her path forward. The journey was far from over, but she was no longer afraid. In this moment, she had embraced her inner strength, and in doing so, had rewritten her story. The camera pulled back, capturing her figure against the sky's soft transition, an emblem of hope, a testament to the power of truth and bravery, poised to face whatever tomorrow might bring. The horizon shimmered with the soft glow of dawn, casting a gentle aureole over the schoolyard where Lena stood amidst the scattered remnants of her tumultuous journey. The morning air was crisp, infused with the scent of blooming jasmine and wet earth, a delicate perfume of renewal after nights of hardship. Her figure, illuminated by the rising sun, was a silhouette of quiet strength, poised at the edge of a new beginning. The stray dog, now calmer and more assured, nestled beside her, its warm body a living emblem of unwavering loyalty and resilience. Lena's hand rested lightly on its fur, feeling the subtle tremor of hope coursing through both their veins. The shattered phone, broken yet symbolically restored in her mind, lay half-buried in the dirt, fragments glinting like tiny stars, reminders of a self once fractured but now reborn. Her gaze drifted across the expansive sky, where soft hues of pink and gold stretched endlessly, promising possibilities. The distant city of hope and struggle hummed softly beneath her, a living testament to the sacrifices made and the victories gained. Though scars still lingered, they no longer defined her. The broken trophies on the school's aging facade shimmered faintly in the dawn light, silent witnesses to the triumph of true worth over superficial validation. Inhaling deeply, Lena felt her heart beating steadily alongside her rising confidence. The echoes of the past, the humiliation, the betrayal, the despair faded into the background, now a part of her mosaic of growth and resilience. Her fingers brushed the rough bark of the ancient oak tree standing tall at the school gatisa, symbol of her roots, her strength, her unbreakable spirit. The air was alive with silence, yet rich with unspoken promises. The wind carried the faint melodies of hope, distant, yet unmistakably present, whispering that true courage illuminates even the darkest shadows. In this sacred moment, Lena allowed herself a small, genuine smile, an affirmation that she had reclaimed her voice, her power, her destiny. The scene lingered on her serene face, a beacon of light amid the dawn's awakening. The world held its breath, pausing in reverence for the quiet victory, an eternal testament to the unbreakable spirit that refuses to yield. And as the first rays of sunlight broke through the horizon, bathing the world in a gentle, golden glow, Lena's silhouette remained steadfast, an enduring symbol of hope, illuminated by the serenity that comes from embracing one's truth. What would you have done if you were her?